What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the JuiceBox. Munz and Wighty back on the mic. Hoping everyone has been doing well and having a good week. Hope you've all been cashing out. Today we have episode number 56 of the JuiceBox, and you know it, we're going to be covering the main card of the upcoming UFC fight night, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. But before we get into it, just a reminder that you can join our premium tier Discord at wap.com/logcity for only $5 a month. This gets you access to every cheat sheet every day across all active major sports, access to our premium picks from all 9 of our pro cappers, and tons of sport-specific and stat-specific data points on a daily basis to help you become a better sports bettor. That's wap.com/logcity. Get instant access for only 16 cents a day. Also, if you want some of the best odds in the industry, as you guys should know by now, check out thunderpick.io. You can use our promo link, tinyurl.com/lcthunder to get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600 on your first deposit. They accept majority of major cryptocurrencies, and you can now deposit using credit card or Visa debit. All right, let's get it going here. We have a pretty interesting card on our hands here. How you feeling about it, brother?
It's at first glance like it's not one of my favorite cards that we've seen recently, but I know that we have a lot that we're similar on, so I'm excited in that regard. I think we'll be able to make a pretty clean parlay here and something pretty safe for everyone in Lock City.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah. We are pretty similar on a few of these picks. Looking into it further, it does seem to get a bit more interesting. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So the first fight on the main card for this fight night, we have Jeremy Stephens versus Mason Jones. Jeremy Stephens is coming into this one with a record of 28-19-0 with one no contest. He's 15-16-0 with the one no contest in the UFC. He's making his return to the UFC. He went on a five-fight losing streak while he was in it, and then eventually went on to other promotions. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. His last 5 fights coming from the PFL. He's coming off a loss in his last as well. He has 21 wins by finish, 19 KO TKOs, and 2 by submission. Mason Jones is coming into this one with a record of 15-2-0 with one no contest. He's 1-2-0 with one no contest in the UFC. He's also making his return to the UFC after going to Cage Warriors. He is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and he is currently on a 4-fight win streak. He has 10 finishes, 7 by KO TKO, and 3 by submission. If we look at the tail of the tape for this one, Mason holds the height advantage slightly, but a pretty decent reach advantage. He's also 8 years younger than Jeremy Stephens. Well, you might have some contradicting points on this one, but I'm not quite sure why he's even getting another chance in the UFC. We're talking about Jeremy Stephens here. Maybe to retire with his last fight being in the UFC. I'm not sure. He had a run from 2007 to 2022 before going to the PFL, so it might be the case for that. But me personally, I don't see him winning this.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Jeremy Stephens returning to the UFC. Like you said, he went PFL after, and then leaving MMA where he found a little bit of success was in bare knuckle. He was on like a 3-fight win streak there, but that obviously doesn't translate aside from maybe he strengthened his chin. I think we could see a bit of a brawl here. I think both of these guys are willing to sit in the pocket and throw. If it goes to the ground or against the fence, I don't doubt at all that Mason Jones has the ability to control Jeremy Stephens the entire time. He would probably be pretty comfortable to win that style of fight, especially if he gets touched up at all on the feet. I could also see Jeremy Stephens maybe getting a sneaky KO if he turns it into a brawl and is a little bit overconfident, but ultimately Mason Jones should win this fight. Mason Jones has more ways to win this fight. I just don't love the odds on the money line at plus 590. We'll take it for call the card. That's definitely who I'm riding for this, but I also think I'm going to probably sprinkle like 0.1 units, maybe $10 on Jeremy Stephens by knockout as a straight bet. I think that could be a sneaky underdog method.
Yeah, definitely a high chance of that happening. Like you said, he went to bare knuckle, so he definitely strengthened up his chin. I don't hate that side bet at all. I really don't. Actually, I might dabble with you on that because in the sport we love, you never know. There's always uncertainty.
Yeah, Stevens is not winning a decision. He's not winning by
No.
submission, and Mason Jones should win this fight. But if we get surprised, if 38-year-old Jeremy Stevens shocks, well, I wouldn't say the world. Nobody's really gonna watch the opener on this one, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I like it as a sprinkle.
Yeah, just a tiny sprinkle. All right, both on Mason Jones for that one. Let's look to the other fight here. We have Cameron Smotherman versus Probably going to butcher this name. Serhiy, or Sidey. Cameron Smotherman is coming into this one with a record of 12-4-0. He's 1-0 in the UFC, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. I believe he's on a 4-fight win streak, coming off a unanimous decision win in his last. 7 wins by finish, 6 KO TKOs, and 1 by submission. Serhiy is coming into this one with a record of 11-2-0. I believe he's 1-1 in the UFC, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Coming off a win in his second UFC appearance. His first one was a loss, and before that loss, he was on a 6-fight win streak. So he kind of needs this one big time for his UFC contract to kind of stay in his favor. He has 8 wins by finish, 7 KO TKOs, and 1 by submission. Definitely going to be an interesting one. Looking at the tail of the tape, Serhiy holds the height and reach advantage in this one. The odds have it pretty close. Cameron Smotherman is plus 112. Serhiy is minus 142 as the favorite. I can say this, I'm pretty undecided on this one. It's a really tough one to call. What are you thinking?
I agree. I think Smotherman is a solid fighter. I think, like you said, it's going to be a pretty close fight, as the odds reflect as well. Smotherman's plus 112 when I last checked, and Sidey was minus 142. I think Sidey is probably more like technically proficient, both as a striker and a fighter in general. But I haven't seen enough, honestly, of either of these guys to be able to make too confident of a pick on this one. Smotherman, from what I've seen, he has some issues fighting from range. I could see him getting picked apart from distance. He's at a 3-inch reach disadvantage, like you said. But I also think Smotherman could find success grappling to outpoint Sidey, and potentially land a couple combinations, maybe close range. So ultimately, I'm not going to go too heavy on this one. I don't think, like for call the card. I think I'm going to back Smotherman on this and YOLO it there. But I don't think I'm going to include this in too many parlays. It's not a fight I love too much.
Yeah, I don't love it too much, and mix that with the fact of how close the odds are, it makes it tough for me. I definitely need to look into this fight more before I can give out a pick, especially here on the JuiceBox. I just don't want to give a pick that I'm not too confident in and lead you guys astray on that. So I'm gonna leave this one as undecided for now. You guys know where to find my picks once I have them out and released. wap.com/LockCity. Join that Discord. Look into the next fight. It's Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos. Montel Jackson is coming into this one with a record of 14-2-0, 8-2-0 in the UFC. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights on a 5-fight win streak. Coming off a KO win in his last, he has 9 wins by finish, 8 KO TKOs, and 1 by submission. Daniel Marcos is coming into this one with a record of 17-0-0 with 1 no contest. He's 4-0 with 1 no contest in the UFC. 4-0, 1 no contest in his last 5 fights, and he's coming off a split decision win in his last. He has 8 wins by finish, all by KO. If we look at the tail of the tape on this one, Montel holds a small height advantage, but a pretty large reach advantage here, which might be one of the main reasons why the books are heavily favoring him at minus 215. We got Daniel Marcos at plus 164 here. I personally think that the odds should be closer. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally think that it is mispriced. You have an undefeated fighter coming into this one as a plus 164 underdog. So let me see how you're feeling about this. I know how I'm feeling. Let me see how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I don't love this one again. I'm leaning Montel Jackson. I think we're going to see some good striking on both sides. Daniel Marcos has really legit striking, and Montel Jackson I think has good striking as well. Probably not as crisp, but I think he probably has a slight power advantage and has the potential to put people to sleep. I don't know Marcos necessarily is pretty durable, but I give Montel Jackson the edge in wrestling, probably in grappling in terms of strength at least. I think he has more ways to win the fight. I think the odds maybe reflect that a little bit, but like you said, I agree it's mispriced. I think it should be a lot closer to like maybe a 135 plus 115 sort of situation. Not a fight that I love, but for call the card, I think I'm gonna go Montel Jackson.
I mean, both of these guys have never been knocked out. Obviously, Daniel Marcos, he's undefeated, and Montel Jackson only has those 2 losses coming from decision, both of them. So, he's never been finished. I can see that definitely being, a weighing factor for him being such a heavy favorite. Also, the 5-fight win streak.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. I like that Daniel Marcos win, his most recent one over Adrian Yanez. I think it's a split decision, but still a good win. But then that Montel Jackson KO over Damon Blackshear, I think that's a really
Yeah,
good
that's
win.
huge. That's
Win
huge.
before that
That
was
is
a ground and
huge.
pound. Yeah,
I
I don't know.
I think Daniel Marcos is probably feeling pretty disrespected at these odds, considering he's an undefeated fighter. Both of them are streaking. If you eliminate his no contest recently, or not recent, yeah, recently, it was in February of 2024. So I'm taking Daniel Marcos. I think he's getting disrespected by the books here on these odds. I think they should be a lot closer than they are. I'll take that value all day and all night. I'm going Daniel Marcos on this one.
That's fair. You gotta respect it.
It's an interesting one for sure. It's an interesting, like you said, not one you love, not one I love either. So let's move on here. Another one that I don't really love too much. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez coming up next. Santiago's coming into this one with a record of 31-8-0. He's 12-7-0 in the UFC, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off a TKO win in his last fight just earlier this year. He has 23 wins by finish, 17 TKO KOs, and 6 by submission. Daniel Rodriguez is coming into this one with a record of 18-5-0. He's 8-4 in the UFC, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's also coming off a split decision win in his last fight as well. He has 12 wins by finish, 8 KO TKOs, and 4 by submission. If you look at the tail of the tape, Rodriguez holds a slight reach advantage, the height advantage. They're both the age of 38, so we got a couple of old men throwing hands in this one. The books have it pretty even. Santiago's a favorite at -125. Rodriguez is the slight underdog at -102, and it's truly a fight that can go either way. I mean, both these guys are on the last leg of their career. They're both looking to maybe look for a final push for a win to retire on in this one. It's a coin flip. It's a coin flip. How you feeling?
Yeah, this is the only one I'm going underdog. I think he's still an underdog with Ponzinibbio, unless actually he's a favorite now on FanDuel at -125. He was plus 105 a little bit ago, but I think I'm gonna slide Ponzinibbio on this one. At first, I was leaning D-Rod, and certainly I think like you said, this fight's gonna be close. I don't think we're necessarily gonna see anything on the mat here, but D-Rod I think has horrendous grappling. I think he could lose this fight on that alone. So I'm gonna have to go Ponzinibbio here. I think it's close even on the feet, but Ponzi could win on control time probably all 3 rounds if he wanted to, and that's too much of a factor for me to run with Daniel Rodriguez on this one, at least confidently. So I'm gonna go Santiago Ponzinibbio on the money line at -125 now for this one.
Yeah, I'm sitting with Santiago as well. Just for the fact that he's been in the ring earlier this year. I believe it was in January. We haven't seen Rodriguez in the ring in like 6-7 months. And they're both old men. They're both 38. So ring rust is a real thing, especially if you're not staying active. I know he's training, but there's a difference, as we said, with training and actually fighting in the ring. So I'm also sitting with the Argentinian Santiago on this one. You got another one that me and Wighty are both the same on. So that's good news for Call the Card.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I didn't realize his last fight was in 2025. You're right, KO over Carlston Harris.
Yeah, nice TKO
Yep,
win. So, he's feeling good off of that. He's feeling hot.
I like it. Ponzi by KO or decision, but
Ponzi, Ponzi.
-125 money line.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Double chance it.
Yeah, let's see what the odds are. One sec. Very curious. But oh, it's like literally the same as his money line. It's -120 and his money line's -125. So
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it at
no.
all. Not. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we have Reinier de Ridder versus Bo Nickal. So de Ridder's coming into this one with a record of 19-2-0. He's 2-0 in the UFC, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming into this one on a 3-fight win streak, I believe, 2 submissions and a TKO. He has 17 wins by finish, 4 by KO, TKO, and 13 by submission, if my memory doesn't fail me there. Bo Nickal is coming into this one with a undefeated record of 7-0, obviously 4-0 in the UFC, and of course 5-0 in his last 5 fights, looking to keep that streak going. 6 wins by finish, 2 by KO, TKO, and 4 by submission. If you look at the tail of the tape on this one, De Ridder holds both the height and reach advantage, although he's also 5 years older than the undefeated Bo Nickal. If you look at the books, they are heavily favoring Bo Nickal in this one, and I can kind of see why. I mean, this guy's been a force, finishing just about everything that comes into his path. He's younger, he's hungrier, and I personally believe that they've set him up for victory in this one. I mean, although the odds are pretty brutal at minus 330, I just don't see. Well, I should take that back. I could kind of see De Ridder winning, but I'm sitting with Bo Nickal.
I would agree. I think Bo Nickal, I, De Ridder's really good. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he's really good at grappling, really good at jujitsu. But I think Bo Nickal is probably smart enough not to rush into that here.
Yeah.
Both of these guys do their best work on the mat, but I trust that Bo Nickal, he's probably going to understand how much of an advantage he's going to have on the feet here. De Ridder's not great on the feet. And I think that complements probably the fact that fans have been hounding him a little bit, at least in his last fight that went to decision there with Paul Craig, hounding him a little bit for his lack of highlight finishes, at least in his last couple of fights. He's got some good knockouts. Then he
Mm-hmm.
had that rear naked choke, and then he had the decision fight. So he got booed a little bit there. I think he's going to be comfortable standing and kind of keeping distance and piecing apart and trying to get a knockout here. I don't think De Ridder is going to be able to take Bo Nickal down. So unless Bo Nickal willingly goes and tries to grapple with De Ridder, which could be dangerous, I think he keeps this fight standing and pieces him up and probably gets a decision win. Could be a knockout, but I doubt it. I think Nickal as a parlay piece at minus 330 is a good idea. But if you also want to split a unit, I don't think he's going to get a submission win here against De Ridder. And you can find both Bo Nickal by decision and Bo Nickal by KO at plus 200. So if you throw like $50 on each of those, you're coming out with 150 either way because he's going to win this fight and he's not submitting to Ritter. So might as well split it up and go on both, or just double chance it and just go a whole unit.
Yeah, double chance it for submission or on points is plus 115, so it's not terrible. It's really not terrible, but like you said, De Ridder's good. He could also feel disrespected by these odds and come in hot in this one, but as you said, Bo Nickal, much smarter. He's most likely not going to rush into the ground, as you said. Yeah, yeah, Bo Nickal. It's Bo Nickal all day. Bo Nickal all day.
I like it.
All right, that was our co-main event. Now it's time for the main event of the evening. We have Cory Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. So Cory Sandhagen's coming into this one with a record of 17-5-0, being 10-4-0 in the UFC. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and he's coming off a loss in his last, I believe. He has 10 wins by finish, 7 KO TKOs, and 3 by submission. Deiveson's coming into this one with a record of 24-4-1, being... Sorry, let me fact check myself here. His UFC record is typed up wrong here, my write out. Excuse me for that. Let's move on here. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a loss in his last. He has 18 wins by finish, 9 by KO, TKO, and 9 by submission. If you look at the tail of the tape, Cory holds a significant height advantage, pretty decent reach advantage, and the age advantage being 4 years younger than Deiveson. If you look at the odds, he's a minus 520 favorite, so pretty heavy favorite. How you feeling here?
Yeah, I gotta go Cory Sandhagen, I think, all day on this one. Figgy looks pretty big right now. I saw a video the other day. I think he might have a little bit of a tough cut, but aside from that, he was a flyweight, so ultimately he should be fine. I think the biggest knock though on Figgy here is just the massive reach disadvantage that he has against Sandhagen, and that's probably the worst disadvantage that you want to have against Cory Sandhagen. Figgy's durable. Like, I don't have any concerns about either of these guys going 5 rounds. I don't know if I expect a knockout here, but I think it's in the cards, as well as obviously a Sandhagen decision as the more likely method. The odds on the money line here, like you said, obviously reflective of the heavy Sandhagen favoritism in this matchup, and they have him sitting at minus 520. But he is definitely a safe bet to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough going against the Brazilians, but when it's pretty straightforward as this one is, you got to sit with Cory Sandhagen on this. I mean, there's no reason not to.
Yeah, very safe. I like Sandhagen. So we're the same on all of these then, except for well, potentially Montel Jackson. No, you went Daniel Marcos there, but
I went Daniel Marcos on Cameron
Smotherman and
Smotherman.
yeah, you're undecided on Smotherman City.
Yeah, definitely got to look into
I
that
like
one more. That one's really close to me.
Interesting. So what do we think of for juice box lock? You want to throw together a couple on the money line, or you want to hedge a Bo Nickel and go TKO or points? On the double chance, it was actually submission and points that was plus 115. TKO and points is minus 175. So I don't know
Ah,
about that one.
it's
But we could
tough, man.
split a
When you
unit.
we could with a card with fights with these odds. I mean, it's always tough. It's always tough trying to make out the best picks. With the best value at least.
Yeah, well, we could throw together a couple money lines. I think Bo Nickel is at minus 330 is obviously a safe one. I don't know if we want to throw Ponzinibbio on there. I think he probably beats Rodriguez, but that in and of itself, I'm just not super confident on it. But if we went like Bo Nickel, Sandhagen,
And Mason Jones makes out
and
minus
Mason Jones,
123.
yeah, I and then hedge it with 0.25 units on the Jeremy Stevens knockout.
You might as well. Yeah, these odds are
Just in
brutal
case.
this week.
Yeah, these are tough. Well, maybe we just stay tuned for the juice box lock on this one in the server.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a fantastic idea, brother.
I like it. I think we'll sleep on it and try and make the best out of a kind of shitty betting card odds wise.
Yeah, we can definitely manage. We can definitely figure something out. I believe in us. All right. Anything else you want to add on here?
Nope, I don't think so. For those of you in the premium server, actually, stay tuned for our call the card picks. Once Munz has a decision on Smotherman and City, there we'll drop that in the premium tier. That'll also probably be out on Twitter for our Free Sheet Friday. So for those of you that follow us on Twitter, check it out there. For those of you that aren't subscribed to the podcast on either Spotify or YouTube, make sure to do so on either of those platforms as well. Give us a like if you like this, if you've been following along and cashing out with us. We did great last week. Actually, the last couple of weeks, we've been on fire. Last week, my picks went 5-1, Munz went 4-2. Week before that, I think we were 4-1 and 3-2 respectively. Week before that, I think Munz swept. So we've been on fire with these picks. If you haven't been following, make sure that you do. And if you have been following, make sure to give us a follow, a like, or show us some love there on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say anything else better myself. If you haven't heard about it yet, you're definitely sleeping under a rock. So, wap.com/lock city to join for only $5 a month. As our man Trey would say, you can't get much for 16 cents a day in this economy. We can get Lock City. Take care, everyone. Good luck. We'll see you in the next one.